Hello there, this is Brian Hoggard from St Swithuns Church in Worcester, working for the Church's Conservation Trust. What I'd like to do in this short video is just give you a little behind the scenes tour of some of the areas you wouldn't normally see. And so we're going to start by looking at a view inside the roof. But the nave was completely sort of pulled down and reconstructed in the 18th century. Parts of the north and south wall are still medieval, but were sort of remodelled. It's a very nice, elegant nave. The tower is still a 15th century tower, but again remodelled slightly in the 18th century, so the exterior was clad with limestone and it was replastered internally and just reconfigured to suit more the fashions of the time. Anyway, here we go. We're going to go into the roof tour. So to do this we have to go up the tower, and we have to get to a level above the plaster barrel vault, and then we can enter the roof structure. So here we go. So that's the aperture from the tower that we climb down through, and we turn around, and here you can see the construction of the roof. At the point of this video shoot, the tiles are all off on the south side, and we can walk along and you can see, if you look up at the timbers at the top, that it's a double hip roof. And when they installed the clock mechanism at some point, they roofed over the valley in between those two hips. But yeah, so it's an exciting place to be in. It's a nice space, and so right underneath our feet here is that plaster barrel ceiling, which you'll see if you come into the nave of St Swithuns. And there we go. That's the view. So it's a lovely roof space. It's very nice. And I'm going to show you another bit of footage of the roof now. This is when we did a tour with the Friends of St Swithuns Church, and at this point pretty much all of the tiles were off the roof, so there was daylight pouring in, so it was a good chance to sort of inspect the roof. And in the process of doing this, two Norman Romanesque stones were discovered. Some carved stones from the original church dating back to 1124 were discovered that have been included in the upper parts of a wall as part of the rebuild. And I'll show you some pictures of those once I've shown you the video. So here's the video. Again, you can see daylight streaming in, which is never normally the case. We turn around and you can see all the timbers. And there's some of the Friends of St Swithuns who are on this tour. And the interesting thing is that some of the timbers, if we look up to the left there, some of those timbers are moulded timbers, and those appear to be reused timbers from the medieval church. So when they rebuilt the roof and the nave, they took some of the timbers, maybe from a screen or something that was in the medieval church, and they included them in the roof structure. And again, as I said, there's these Norman Romanesque moulded stones that we see here, with one with a zigzag pattern and another one which is kind of an X pattern, and they were discovered in a high level of the south part of the wall. Now, the next video I'd like to show you is of an internal scaffold which currently exists in the church tower. Okay, and this takes us from the bell frame to the roof of the church tower, which is an area that normally you would never have access to, and it would be very difficult to have access to. And obviously, as part of the repairs, they had to fix the roof of the church tower and make sure that it was fit for another 50 to 100 years at least. So here we go, we're going to have a little journey up that scaffold. So here we are climbing the tower stair, and there we have the entrance into where the bell frame is. Now this bell frame is thought to be 17th century, and there is actually a steel bell frame below it where the bells are now housed. So again, we can see the bell frame there, and then we can look up and you can see the louvers in the church tower, which are always open to the elements. And there's the platform at the top, which is enabling the workmen to have access to the roof structure and make the repairs that are needed at the moment. This is from the first layer of that internal scaffolding, looking down onto the bell frame below. And you can see all the local red sandstone, which is classic medieval construction method in Worcestershire. And on the outside it looks like limestone, but it's just a cladding. And then here's that upper level on that scaffolding, and you can see at the top there are these holes in the walls, which is where timbers were put in for a floor that used to exist there, which no longer does exist there. We're not sure at what point that was taken down, but there was this extra level there, which enabled the medieval and later people to access this roof space. And so here we are in the roof, That is the very apex of the roof of the tower, and yeah, we can look around. Unfortunately, it was really raining that day, at a point when the lead was off the roof, because that is being completely refurbished and new lead is going on. So don't worry about the water that you can see, that was literally just a downpour, and it's all watertight again now. So there we go, and so that is the upper part of the tower of St Swithuns Church in Worcester, which is an area you would not normally be able to see. Okay, now there is also a nice view from the top of the church. So that tower stair that we stepped away from to get onto that scaffolding, if we were to just carry on up the stairway, we'd get to the hatch where we can open up and get onto the roof of the church. So the next video I'd like to show you is of that. So here we go, this is looking into the roof space, and then we climb onto the, well, before that we can look down into the bell ringing chamber there, and then step onto the tower stair, and we climb up. And I've edited this so that you don't want to hear me huffing and puffing my way up the stairs, so I've cut out a lot of that. That's the area we were just in the previous video, where there's the scaffold. Then we carry on up past that. And then you can see the brick course of the very upper levels of the tower. That was done during the 18th century restoration. And then we can push open the brand new hatch and step up onto the roof of St Swithuns Church, which, as you can see, currently does not have its lead, but that is being fixed as we speak. And there you can see St Nicholas's Church over there, there's All Saints, and then St Andrew's. And the cathedral there to the far left, with the Malverns in the distance. There we go, so that's a nice view. And then the final video I'd like to show you is that the scaffolding that's been erected around the building at the moment includes a staircase that leads up to, well, all the way up the side of the church tower. So there's another way up to the top of the tower at the moment, on the outside. And so what I'd like to do now is show you a video of a descent of that staircase, because it's not going to be there for much longer, and just to take that in really. So here we are at the top, and just about to access this staircase that's been built onto the outside of the tower, and that is looking west across the city, and then looking east, that's Mealcheapens Street and Old St Martin's Church, you can see there. And there we go, facing west again. And that's a little look into the louvers on the church tower, where we were previously looking from the other side. People who don't like heights don't enjoy this bit very much, but I quite enjoy it. And again, you can see the canopy that's protecting the nave at the moment from the elements. And down we go a bit further, and the site office for the building site is actually on a platform which goes over the alleyway in between the church and the neighbouring shops. So it's an elevated platform which we're just walking down towards at the moment. Yep, there we go, and that's actually some of the old lead from the roof just there, and then you can see we have a collection of all the tiles which are going to be going back onto the roof, some of which are medieval. And there you go, there's the roof ready to receive its new refurbished tiles, and then a view back up the staircase that I've just come down. There you go. So that is a little tour of some of the hidden parts of St Swithuns Church in Worcester while it's undergoing some restoration. I hope you found that interesting, and please do come and see us once we reopen, which will be at some point during 2021. If you stay tuned to our social media channels, you'll find out all about that as and when we know the answer. So hopefully see you there soon.